We're going to stay in Israel now because the other big news of the day there is that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took the witness stand for the first time in his long-running corruption trial. He's the first ever Israeli leader to be charged with a crime, or the first sitting Israeli leader to be charged with a crime. The Israeli leader has promised defiantly on Tuesday to knock down the allegations, calling the charges against him absurd, while also slamming the legal system and the media. Well, let's get more on this and speak to France 24's correspondent Noga Tarnopolsky, who joins us from Jerusalem. So, Noga, Netanyahu began his witness testimony today. Tell us what today's trial was like.
Adrenaline. It definitely had that feeling of history in the making. It's a very unusual sight to be crammed into a small bunker-like courtroom and have the head of government answering questions in his own criminal trial. That said, Netanyahu appears to be mounting much more of a political defense than a legal defense. He almost repeated to the judges his speech from last night, from a press conference last night. As you said, Yinka, he was slamming the Israeli media as being a political party that opposes him. He slammed the judiciary. And in fact, he mocked the proceedings. He didn't just return time after time to that word absurd, but he seemed to acknowledge some of the allegations against him. Instead of saying, no, I did not do as you allege, he said, of course I did. That's how any prime minister, any head of government would behave, thus making a mockery of the laws, ethical journalism laws themselves and the entire judicial proceedings. So Israeli legal analysts today seem quite split, I would say, about the potential effectiveness of this method. The question is, will the judges fall under his spell, like for many years much of the Israeli public did, and consider his claim that the laws, such as they are, or the claims simply are not relevant to him? Or could this approach boomerang against him when the judges say, well, you may think the laws don't apply to you, but here we are to tell you they do?
And of course, Noga, Netanyahu is the first sitting Israeli leader to be charged with a crime. It's coming at a time where he has a lot on his plate with the situation in the Middle East. Is he going to be able to govern effectively with all that he's got going on?
That's, the huge question. That's the elephant in the room here. Netanyahu was only allowed to run for prime minister as an indicted criminal, really by the skin of his teeth. There's a loophole in Israeli law. When the lawmakers wrote in the law books that no minister can remain in post if he or she is indicted, they forgot to specify that this also counts for the prime minister. Netanyahu used this loophole to run for office. Still, as an indicted criminal, he was forced to sign a non-conflict of interest agreement. Part of that, he acknowledged that he would have to show up and testify in trial, and he claimed he could do so perfectly well while running the country. And today, we already began to see the first cracks in this method. He received several times during the proceedings little notes or a top secret envelope. He requested pauses. And many people here think that he's laying the groundwork, even fairly quickly, to once again ask the court to simply delay the entire trial again. One of the reasons this trial has gone on now for a full 5 years before he started testifying is because Netanyahu's methods more or less succeeded. And the big question now is, will the judges accept this claim again?
Well, we'll have to see how it all plays out. Noga, thanks so much for bringing us up to speed there. That's Noga Tarnopolsky, France 24's correspondent in Jerusalem, there for us.